Hi friends, I'm Nirmal and today our topic is 7 basic tools of qualities in operation management. For the reason of human factor and human reliability, it is inevitable that there could be occurred some kind of faults and errors even in well planned and technically equipped organizations and systems. The errors or unplanned risk that might be happened during the project can lead the customer to have negative opinion about the management team. Also, some faults and risk might not be able to fix or might be too expensive to also some faults and risks, and therefore a well prepared quality management plan is essential for an organizations in order to ensure that the management plan that the project team works on meet the customer satisfaction and their needs. At this stage, 7 quality tools are quite helpful to determine, identify and evaluate the problems, their causes and suggestions for a continuous improvement processes. These tools can be listed as histogram, flowchart, scatter diagram, Pareto chart, cause and effect diagrams. So that I earlier talked to you about the operation management. So check sheet and control chart also. So now we discuss about histogram. What is histogram in operation management? So purpose of histogram. Histogram is used in order to define the variety and frequency of occurrence of a set of data in a graphical and numerical form. Description: in most of the visual presentation, frequency distribution is used, and each of them is made in order to indicate how often that particular data occurs for in certain of time, and the most common way to show the frequency of occurrence in some one of the quality tools called histogram. They look like bar charts, but they are different in some ways. So histogram is a powerful tools in terms of showing the all data set in one diagram. It is helpful when it is needed to show the comparison of one data to another. They are the graphical way of indication and provide to investigate and evaluate the data visually. It is invented by French statisticians and French statisticians, so A.M. Gore, as a distinct form of Pareto chart. In histogram, only the frequency of occurrence of one type of property of the product is shown. The particular property of the product that lead us to use histogram must be numerical and variable. The following figure 1 is given as an example here. One particular property of the products, the number of defective number in the next 1000 product, and their probability of occurrence are shown as numerically. As you see from the figure, a pile of defective number is in the middle of the distribution. It is shown like a bell-shaped curve, which is usually called normal distributions. We usually use a histogram when the data we use to visualize a numerical. There is a need to assess if the process is likely to meet the customer's requirement. There is a need to identify the shape of the distribution that the histogram will show for that particular data. Making a comparison of the outputs of more than one process to assess if they are differing from each other or not. When making a histogram with the purposes defined above, One should pay attention some points such as the survey data should be a variable, the observed data should place the x-axis while frequency should be place y-axis. In one histogram, only one particular quality characteristic is considered and observed data values regarding with these characteristics are placed on x-axis. The column intervals should be same with another. In order to reach the more accurate distribution, it should be paid attention to insert no less than 50 data points. So, construction of histogram. Now we discuss about this. While making a histogram, there are some steps which should be followed. These are shown as follows. In order to reach more variable results, at least 50 data points should be gathered. Finding the difference between the highest and lowest data points. This is called as range. Collected data points should be divided on to x-axis according to their number. For examples, if we have below 50 data points, x-axis should be divided into 5 to 7 intervals. The same for 50 and 100 points, axis should be divided into 8 to 10 intervals. For other 250 data points, number of intervals must be between 15 to 20, determining the number of classes in the crucial steps since during the interpretations of the variable in the data set. And it will show the effectiveness of the histogram. So each size of intervals must be calculated by the following formula. Size of interval is equal to range oblique number of classes. By using the smallest and largest data points, the boundaries of the histogram should be defined. Therefore, the last step there is needed to make the calculation of frequency of each class. Final step is drawing the histogram and plotting the related data. So the conclusion is histogram is a useful tool to identify and make and interpretations for the variations that is faced in a set of data. Anything we need to show or point out, we can do it by the quality tools of histogram in a simple and clear way. But it is important to always consider that histogram cannot give in solutions to the problem, but they can shed some lights on the improvement processes. So now we discuss about flowchart and purpose of flowcharts. So flowcharts give a visual explanations of the progressions of activities which are needed to complete a task. The high-level flowcharts help people who use them to standard complicated processes without detailed which cause confusions. The detailed flowcharts help people who use them to analyze their processes to improve the efficiency and the optimize and to optimize. Also, people who will involved in constructing processes of flowchart start to understand the process better. Since they are involved in, they start to be more interested to the improvements of quality and processes. They start to determine the parts to improvement the process. They also start to understand how all the people and all the process involved and fit into the overall businesses. So now we discuss about description of flowcharts. Flowcharts are visual charts which show processes by breaking down them into activities. Also, they show how these activities related to each other from start to finish. To understand a process, making a flowchart is the first step, whether this process is a managerial or production ones. These charts provide visual explanations of these steps which are needed to complete the task. When we look at the flowcharts, we can see how this process and the types of this process are included in and fit into the overall business. So Flowcharts can be prepared in many types: picture, symbols, or just circle and or squares can be used to draw a flowchart. Also, these charts can show a process or just a part of a process or many processes together. There is not a way to draw a flowchart, and also there is no wrong ways to draw a flowchart. The scale of how well a flowchart is should be parallel with how well the people who draw and use it and understand it. So now we discuss about construction of flowcharts. While preparing a flowchart, the people who will be involved in should be identified correctly. These should be the ones who practically perform the process and stakeholders of the processes. Since the construct of a flowchart takes more time than expected, enough time should be given out to the team members to complete their flowcharts. In the construction of process of flowcharts, the crucial step is asking questions. There is the examples of questions that will help to construct a flowchart. Which things will happen first? Defining start point. Which will happen next? Listing major steps in order. To where do the outputs of the process go? Defining the direction. From where do the inputs of this process come? Defining the direction. How do the inputs reach the process? Which things will happen last? Defining stop points. So after defining the data to construct a flowchart, standardized graphically symbols are used to document the process. Then the results can be reviewed to compare to real process and to confirm if it is right and complete. So now we discuss about types of flowcharts. There are four general flowcharts types. These differ according to different perspectives of peoples who modeled them. So document flowcharts, they display control over a document that flow through a system. Data flowcharts, they display controls over a data which flows a system. System flowcharts, they display controls in a resource of physical levels. Program flowcharts, they display the controls in a program inside a system. So whereas there are many classifications of flowcharts like that is showed in the up. Conclusions flowcharts provide a visual illustrations and explanations of process to users. These charts are the first steps to understand each processes. Also, charts inspire teamwork and involvement to the business by employee. So now we discuss about scatter diagram. Purpose of scatter diagram. Scatter diagram is mostly used when there is a need to identify the correlations of the two variables that somehow affect each other, to observe the alternative in one variable when the other's one is changed. So using scatter diagram enable us to predict that kind of functions is more suitable to present the relations of two variables. Two ways to demonstrate the relations between the variables are to determine the degree of relations numerically and graphically. Indeed, scatter diagram shows the directions and quantity of the linear correlations of two variables. The direction and the quantity of the linear correlations of two variables are measured and defined by a phenomenon called correlations. So coefficient which is shown as r, this r value is always between -1 and 1. In the case r is 0 means there is no relations between the variables. The higher r number closer to 1, the more positive correlations between the variables. On the contrary, the lowest r number closer to -1. the more negative corrections. So, in this figure below, the correlation between the waiting line between eruptions and the eruption during a gesture in USA, from these relations of two variables, what we can conclude from this direction is there are two types of eruptions: short duration eruptions, and long duration eruption. The closeness between the points represents the level of correlations between variables that are placed in x and y axis. So construction of scatter diagram, choosing two items that we want to examine, the correlations between, usually it is better to use two variables that are potentials for a cause and effect relations. For instant and effect and its cause can be the input for scatter diagrams. Data gathering, as in the histogram, using as much as data will lead us to have more variable and accurate results. Placing the data points on x and y axis, plotting the each set of paired data onto coordinate axis, there will be dots depends on how many data points will collected. Evaluation of the chart and results, and evaluation of the scatter diagram. The interruptions or the interpretations of the results we can detect from the diagram can vary depends on the relationships presented in diagram. If there is a strong relationships between two variables, a change in one items will automatically affect the other one to change. But if there is no relations, a change in one will not affect the others one at all. So the interpretation is divided into three categories: positive relations, the variable on the x-axis is increased as the other on one y-axis increase, or vice versa. The slope of the best fit line is positive. So negative relationship, as the variables on the x-axis increase while the other variables on y-axis decrease, or vice versa. The slope of the best fit line is negative. No relationship, there is no relationship defined between the variables on x-axis and y-axis. So their alternative does not affect each other. So scatter diagram presents the user of the correlations between the quality characteristics and the factors that might be affected with it. What makes these quality tools so useful is that it is easy to use, to interrupt, and to communicate to others. So Pareto charts, now we discuss about this purpose of the Pareto charts. The Pareto chart sets priorities within the problems to decide which problems must be tackled first. Since no organization has enough resources to deal with all problems, the prioritization is important. A Pareto chart is listed graphically the main points in a brief and shows the connected important of the different points between data groups. And the purpose of a Pareto chart is the stress the most important between set of factors in quality control. It usually symbolizes the most useful or origins of deficiencies, the defect types that have high frequency, or the customer complaints, most common reasons, and etc. The Pareto charts are usually specially useful to improve the processes in manufacturing. So description of a Pareto charts: Italian economics Vilfredo Pareto developed the Pareto concepts by depicting the frequency distribution of a population given characteristics. Pareto chart is a kind of chart which includes both a line graph and bars. The bar shows the values is going down order, and the line graph displays the cumulative sum up of each category, left to right. So Pareto chart set the data's priority from highest frequency to lowest. These charts determine the vital few classes, which explains the largest connected frequency, and set apart the unimportantly many. So the Pareto charts can provide answers to the questions which will be helpful to find the largest issues that the business or team is facing. to get the highest rate of improvement, where the team should focus their efforts. So, what's the construction of Pareto charts? To start a draw a Pareto charts, the range of data should be segmented into groups, segments, categories, bins, etc. Then the categories or columns should be ranked order, begin with the highest frequency columns on the left and the continue to the right. Then the number of data points which exist within each group should be determined, and the graphic should be prepared by paying attention to match the categories with frequencies. Above the data categories, a connected frequency line should be calculated and placed. This is the cumulative of each category's percentage. The start point of constructions of Pareto charts is the choose and process which is not producing yield. If the process requires new work or scrap, then the reasons for this rework or scrapping these parts are identified and a list is made for the causes of problems. Now we have enough amounts of data to make a chart. After making Pareto charts, it can be each problems are the most effective to cause trouble. There should be two and three which are outstanding. Then we can concentrate to these problems which are most troublesome. After using Pareto charts to improve the process to check how the improvement work, and we can do another Pareto charts and problems that are caused the largest harm and must be tackled will be shown in the chart again. In the Pareto chart, examples frequency of occurrence showed the left vertical axis and the right axis represents the cumulative percentage of total number of occurrence since the number of reasons decreasing. The shape of the cumulation functions is concave functions. So there is no wrong problems or wrong process. Choose to use Pareto charts to improve quality. The most important thing is doing something and starting from somewhere to decide where your business has problems. If you start to use Pareto charts, you will find out several things about your business and or process, and you will learn where to develop. So cause and effect of diagram, purpose of cause and effect diagrams. Now we discuss about this cause and effects diagrams plays an important role in order to come up with a good outputs from a project and to provide a continuation improvement process, since it gives us the idea about the root cause or causes of the threats and the problems throughout the projects. One should choose the cause and effects diagram as a graphical representations. Will have the idea of what is the essential root cause that leads us for that particular quality problems. So cause and effects diagram is also one of the Ishikawa 7 quality tools developed in University of Tokyo in 1943. It has been using in order to determine, investigate and show the root causes of the problems or consequences. This diagram is also useful to display both all the related causes of a problem with the problems in one diagrams. This allows us to be able to see all the things in one page, and will clear the solutions, the problem, consequences or the situations that we want to work on. It's written on the right side on diagrams, while all the possible related cause are written on the left side, as the sub causes are linked to the main causes and they all together forms the fishbone. Since the shape is more or less to look like a bone or fish, it is also called as fishbone diagram. So it is clear that we can end up with this cause by starting from the problems by using statistical methods. But apart from this, that what the cause and the effect diagrams gives us, that is shows the direct and explicit relations between the consequences and their causes. So visually and the causes to display are mainly divided into 6 main categories: man, people, measurement, machines, equipment, materials, methods and environment of the organizations. So construction of the cause and effect diagrams steps should be followed when making a cause and effect diagrams demonstrated as the following. A project team for drawing the cause and effects diagrams is formed. It should be paid attention that each now member of the group has the pre-knowledge about the quality concerned. One of the numbers is selected as the facilitators. He or she is responsible for the listen and note the ideas and thoughts presented by the other team members in an as easy to understandable manner. So the concern which is related the situations and needed to be improved must be identified as an effect and draw a box around it and added an arrow towards it. The next step must be the brainstorming that must be held by the team members about what could be the entitles causing these effects, that is the identified at previous steps. Also likelihood of relations between the causes and must be investigated. The step must be followed with the previous steps because here the subclauses that are somehow related and affect the main causes must be identified and analyzed. Make sure that all the possible factors that contributing the main cause are defined when preparing the diagram. Environmental and business factors must be identified details, and each team members options should be taken in order to define all the possible causes to the problems. The last step must be focusing on this cause more in detail, which is important. Plan can be developed for by using other qualities, tools, and techniques. The causes will be focused must be agreed by the team members. So, cause and effects diagrams are very effective and powerful among the quality tools in the manner that making a better understanding on our project. The diagram requires a teamwork and pre-knowledge about the process projects that we are working on. Since this diagram provides us an important for our projects or improvement, it requires knowledge for sure because the more informations that team members have, the more opportunity to improve them to come up with better outputs. So checklist, the purpose of checklist, check sheets provide to collect data from a process in a systematic, organized and easy manners. The description of checklist, the check sheets is a simple documents which we use for data collections to real time and in the locations where the data is created. The check sheet is typically a blank form which is designed to register the needed informations in a quick, efficient and easy way. So since the data collections is the beginning point of statistical analysis, it is very important and can sometimes become messy and unorganized exercise. Check sheet is a simple form that we can use for data collections in a constructed a structured manner, and we can convert it into useful information easily. Check sheets represent informations in a graphical format effectively. A check sheet is a form of table which is used to register data as it is collected. Also, check sheets helps to organize collected data by category. They display that how many times each particular value happens, and the information that check sheets provide is becoming more helpful as more data is collected. The check sheets main applications is to register data that shows how often different problems happens and to register the frequency of indecent incidents which are thought to be reasons of problems. Check sheets are used to identify clearly what is being observed. The events that are being observed should be classified clearly. The data collections process should be taken easy, and the data should be grouped in a way which makes data reliable and valuable. Similar problems must be in a similar categories, then a format which will give the most helpful informations with the less effort should be created. So check sheets are effective ways to display data and they are easy to use. They shows the root reasons of problems. Also check sheets are the first step to construct other graphical tools. It provides an organized uniform data collections and construction of a check sheets. To create a check sheets, first step should be defining the events, problems or processes to be recorded and categorize these events. If there are events which are not easily categorized into any of the existing groups, then a category of others should be added for these events. Then for the data recording, suitable intervals and periods should be identified. These times interval should be representative and the check sheets should be designed to be used during data recording, and it should be easy to understand. All columns should be properly classified. The data collection should be performed during the agreed time intervals, and everyone should understand the tasks and events that are recorded. The data should be analyzed to identify events with unusually high and low frequencies. Then the information should be plotted on a check sheets. So defective item check sheets. Now we discuss about this to identify what types of defects or problems occur during the processes. These type of check sheets are used. In these check sheets, there is usually a list of problems or defects that can occur during the process. When a defect or problems occur, a mark is placed in the columns of these problems. The data that is used is countable in this type of check sheets. Defective locations check sheets. The type of check sheets helps to find the locations of defects or problems on the products. These are used if external appearance of products is important. This type of check sheets generally consist a picture of products to indicate the place of defects that are occurring on the surface of the product. Marks can be made on the picture. So defective cause check sheets. These type of check sheets are used to find the causes of defects or problems during data collections. More than one variables is monitored for this type. For examples, the data about type of machines, data times and operator can be monitored in the same check sheets. Checkup confirmation check sheets, being sure that proper procedures are being applied. These type of check sheets is being used. These type of check sheets generally has a list of tasks which are required to be accomplished before the actions will be taken. Inspections, operation checks, service performance, machines maintenance check sheets are the examples of checkup informations check sheets. So check sheets are helpful methods to collect data. They are easy to use and understand, and also they let users to collect data in an easy, organized and systematic manner. There are many types of check sheets are being used. The most common types are defective locations, defective cause and checkup confirmations check sheets. So control charts. Purpose of control charts: it is a tools used to ensure that whether the business or production process is under control continuously, and to help the improvement of the process performance by the studying variations and source. Using control charts will help us to make the adjustments of the quality of outputs of the process where it is indeed. So control charts are informed in order to examine if the process is statistically in control and the variation of the process within time. Control charts give us a notice in advance of possible problems that can be happened in near future. By the control charts, one can interrupt about the variations that are obtained from the data of a process and keep the process in control. And the method called is statistical control process. The aim of the control charts is to keep the variations is called statistical control charts. The aim of the control charts is keep to variation might be occur during the project in the quality manner within acceptable. The upper and lower limits control charts only give notice us about the existence of defects. It does not give any solutions to overcome it. Hence here are some benefits to use the control charts. So we find that according to the data type, we have selecting the best suitable control charts will lead us to reach the results faster and effectively. Types of control charts can be mainly defined as the average and range control charts. The average control chart shows the closeness of the process of the nominal design value, while range control charts indicate the quality of variable and spread around the nominal value. So, thanks a lot for watching.